Welcome to the video. On the spiritual path, no matter which kind you choose, discernment is a very important part of the foundation. And something that gets overlooked is that discernment has much more to do with how you interact with the world around you and yourself versus making choices. Hi, if we've never met before, my name is Farron, and welcome to My Changing Reality, where we speak about art and consciousness, and sometimes art and consciousness together, and the human in between. Creating a discerning perspective takes time. And it really has a lot more to do with the methods that you employ to interact with what's going on around you versus choosing A or B or figuring out what resonates with you or any of those other things. What you're doing is creating space within you that a place where you feel the most connected. So it's so sounds so corny, connecting with the connection, but what you do is create a space within you where you feel the most connected, and then you figure out how to spend more and more time there. So eventually, this is your operating system, the method, or not the method, the place where you expand from. Outwardly, what this looks like is somebody that is taking really good care of their body as best as they can, eating the best food, breathing well, paying attention to the life around them in a way that they feel connected and, immersed in the place that they are in. And I know that that sounds like a flip because I just said it's a place within you, but because people are so comfortable with that place within themselves, it outwardly looks as if they're comfortable with what's going on, in a sense. Calm, cool, collected, but not from an ego perspective, from a place where you are acting from your soul's deepest purpose. And then with all of this going on from a personal level, internally, we also have what society is giving us. And this is often framed as nostalgia. And this can truly interfere with what resonates for us. Nostalgia can get in the way of subtle lessons and things that are coming in from the environment that may go overlooked because they're subtle, right? But we get tapped into this emotional complex when it comes to the memory or how we feel about the memory. The way we see the world is also the same view we are giving ourselves when it comes to our memory and our experience. Memory and nostalgia is a very difficult place to use for spiritual advancement. And advancement isn't the greatest word. Expansion is the word that I like to use, but I feel as though that's also starting to become a bit unclear. It can get in the way of subtle lessons because it messes with what we think is familiar, or sometimes it messes with how things feel, but it's usually how we think about things. So think about something that brings you nostalgia in a positive way versus a negative way. Does that have to do with your experience with an item, a person, a color, a time period in your life? It can be so many different things. For the most part, we're walking around in everybody else's nostalgia. And I understand that styles do this and music does this, like things come back around. That's what my mom always used to say. Everything comes back around. But basing all of our experience, what we take in from our experiences on nostalgia can be extremely limiting because of whatever we have that's tied to it, but also it's limited to this lifetime. Your parents' clothes have come back around already. Your grandparents' clothes have come back around already. That is a very compressed amount of time for an eternal soul to be, limiting their energetic experiences to. Think about what you miss out because you always go to that thing your grandmother used to do. or say. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your Nana. Totally not saying that. But my point is there's a lot more stuff out there for us to learn and develop from. Things that have shaped your personality, your identity, how you interact with the people around you, how you interact with your family, and how you interact with yourself. I mean, think about it. You could be walking around continually being reminded of unprocessed stuff within you. On one hand, that's a good thing, but on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff to work on. Do you really want to be reminded of only the stuff attached to nostalgia? It's a limiting factor. It's keeping us inside a bubble. Let's put it that way. And there are so many things trapped inside this bubble based on comfort and familiarity. And, not all of that stuff is beneficial to our soul's path. And that's what I'm getting to here. All of this stuff is rooted in distraction. Going through all of this so many times with myself, I've realized this is one of the things that keeps us looping. It keeps us in place, which is what the proverbial they, the powers that be, whatever you want to say about it, the looping factor is where they prefer us because there's not much thinking for ourselves and all of that. The other thing that's so interesting about this is it's been normalized to the point where it's running completely undetected for most people. If you are listening to me, you know what I'm speaking about. There are a lot of people that are unfortunately caught in this place where they don't desire any kind of change. That is the loop. There is a comfort factor inside the bubble. Things have made to be falsely safe. But think about it. What lives inside the bubble? Star culture, the TV culture we grew up with. There's a lot of religions inside the bubble. Everything that is put in place to control the masses is inside the bubble. It's been so familiarized that we don't even, not we, you and me, but the general public doesn't even see that this might be some kind of an issue, right? This is why so many things are getting overlooked. So many things are misunderstood and then ignored. Why? Because if I don't understand what you're saying, then you're the one with the problem. No, that's not how this works. This isn't how we move towards unity, which is the only thing that really gets below or around or outside the bubble. You don't even need to pop the bubble. You just need to leave the bubble. And the way that you leave the bubble is by being a caring person at any moment during the day, whether you are interacting with only yourself, perhaps in a meditation practice, perhaps making some artwork, perhaps dancing, whatever it is. Those moments are just as important as when you are nice to the bus driver, as when you thank the person that gives you your cup of coffee at the coffee shop, the way you don't slam your door in the apartment building you live in, the way you don't allow your dog to just bark in the hallway or outside someone's house for no reason. These things, these moments, they add up. They stack up, they add up, they're a pile. A pile sounds so negative. They're a foundation. And as soon as you do that, the people around you do that. This is basic mysticism. This is yoga. There's a lot of things. The thing I need people to understand is they matter. Your actions at any given moment matter. Thank you for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I will be following up on this topic on the podcast. I love you. Go live your life.